Hello everyone, welcome to issue 131 of the Captain's Log. I use this space as a reflection on aspects of the social age, on my writing for the week, and a chance to explore ideas in greater depth. As you'll probably notice, I've started cross-publishing this on Substack where I'm adding in the video. So if video is your thing, then you can listen to me exploring some ideas, and today I'm going to be exploring layers of community. Now, I've written about community as a core aspect of the social age from the start, specifically the rise of community facilitated by social collaborative technologies, the ways that it's far easier to pull together a community around an idea. But today I want to think about the layers of community that we inhabit. I first explored this idea in a book I wrote in New York, I think from memory back in about 2016, which was about communities, spaces, and performance. And it started to consider how within different physical spaces, different communities coexist. They cohabit these spaces, but sometimes with no layers of connection. One of the examples I talked about was the Lincoln Centre for the Performing Arts, where you had the ballet company that performs and dances. But in the space between the buildings, you have the skateboard gangs that also come together and use those space, claim that space. It's an idea that I've explored before in work with gangs of graffiti artists, the way they claim voices within other spaces. So we have different layers of communities. Even in my own town here, I can walk out and I can see these different communities, communities of shopkeepers, of shoppers, of residents, parents with children, but also there are homeless communities that are almost entirely invisible to us. We not only inhabit the same space, but we don't inhabit the same tribes, so there can be very little cross-connection. In offices, of course, we have communities of cleaners and service people who look after the building. Often there is no dialogue, there is no cross-connection. But does it matter? Well, yes and no. We find belonging within communities, but we often spend our social currencies within them, currencies of kindness, currencies of gratitude. But it means that between those communities, there can be a lack of opportunity or indeed lack of fairness. Inevitably, we break down into tribal structures as organizations grow. They grow formally and structurally, they grow a bigger hierarchy, but they don't grow socially in the same way. The growth of the social organization is granular around these tribal structures. You just get more of them all nested together into broader community structures. But this understanding of our separation, even when we are physically together, was one reason why in the socially dynamic organization, I talk about interconnection. How will you see the organization beyond that which you already know and understand? How will you hear voices that are outside your conception of the structure of the organization? The way that we'll take ourselves into other spaces, not to colonize them, but to hear within them, to hear from them. So community has been very much on my mind this week. It's also been a busy week with the launch of my new book, The Humble Leader. This is the guided reflection into social leadership. It's been kickstarted, something I have done before. I did it for the Trust sketchbook before. And Kickstarter allows me to bring together a community of people interested in that work, and I'm extremely grateful for the people who have backed it. It's given me the space and opportunity to carry what I think is a beautiful artifact into the world. I'm very pleased and proud of this work, but I've taken to describing it as fragile work. It's maybe partly a defensive approach, that I know it's imperfect, but I think it's valuable nonetheless. If we look around us, it's not difficult to see how the world has its challenges, and one approach to changing it is to change ourselves with humility, through humility, to realize that we have plenty of people or leaders who shout about how great they are and who will try to affect change with volume. But there can be a more introspective approach that looks at self, me within the system, and how I change myself and how that changes the system around me. It's about me and we and us, how the way I act and look at myself and the way that you do so can be connected up. What are the principles by which we would wish to grow the type of organization or culture that we desire to inhabit? It's fragile work because it does not have any certainty. It doesn't have clear answers. It is a book with space. It's a book for reflection. So this week I've been signing and numbering the limited first edition, sending them out. I think we're rapidly heading towards a second print run of the work. It's exciting to see this work take shape and fly. At the other end of the spectrum, I've also been sharing this week some of my newest writing, which is in collaboration with my friend Seychats. We're writing a learning science guidebook, very much by the principles of working out loud. You'll see below the links to that work. We've identified about 20 topics that we want to cover, and we're just working through them one at a time. We'll be publishing it on the blog, and we'll be publishing behind the scenes in one of my other Substack spaces, the Learning Fragments side, where we will just be sharing something of our conversations and the dialogue and our evolving thinking. We're not particularly trying to present this as coherent and unified. We're going to keep, as well as our writing with one voice, we're going to keep our separate voices within it, and there may be some things where we'll have different views and opinions or different ideas that we want to explore as well. So I've started sharing that newest work as well, the Learning Science Guidebook. Well, here on the Captain's Log or in any of the other spaces that I have, Social Leadership Daily, 60 seconds a day, the blog, which of course sits at the heart of my work as my first reflective space out in our broader community. Thanks for your support. Hope you had a great week and have a great weekend. I'll see you next week.